today I had the absolute joy and pleasure to sit down with Jaelle Laguerre. And if you're on theater TikTok, you have seen her videos. She is so funny while also being so incredibly insightful. And we had a really wonderful conversation today about her vocal history, about her vocal injury, and how she managed all of it. We also had time to sneak in a little voice lesson. We worked on a song from Waitress and we actually made two pretty big breakthroughs, so it was a great little mini lesson. So thank you for coming back, and please enjoy Jaelle Laguerre on the Artist Series.
Hey, Jaelle! Welcome to the Artist
Hi,
Series. Thank you so much for being here.
thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So, I want to talk about all about your vocal journey and your experience on tour and all of that good stuff. So, tell me where it all began. You grew up in California, yeah?
Yeah, I grew up in California. It began in show choir. I was in choir. Oh, no, not show choir. I'm so sorry. Show choir is like Glee. I was in choir
Wow.
at my church.
Okay.
And
Very different than Glee.
that's a completely
Very different.
that's that's a completely different. And I started singing in church, and then I um I was always one of those people that was afraid that I was a bit tone deaf. I thought I could sing and your face. I thought I could sing, but really everyone else knew that I couldn't and they just weren't telling me. So I was very quiet about it until one
Yeah.
day I had to sing the title song of Beauty and the Beast. And everyone around me was like, "Did you know you could do that?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can sing." And then I like went crazy. So I started off in choir and then moved to theater.
So you sang the title of Beauty, the title song of Beauty and the Beast. You were like, oh my God, I can sing now. Look at me. Where did you go from there? Did you take voice lessons when you were young? What happened in your childhood?
So to be honest, I was kind of a late bloomer, not in the sense of like when I started singing, but when I started getting like technically trained.
Yeah.
I was always like I had a very big range, a very big voice, but I couldn't necessarily I could do a lot of things, but I couldn't necessarily articulate to you how I was doing those things. And then that's why I went to school for this was to get the technical training. And
Yeah.
to be honest, that's I guess what I mean by late bloomer is in terms of consistent private coaching, it didn't really happen until like college. Like,
Yeah.
thank gosh I had some sort of exposure to music theory in the sense of choir and etc. But I remember my advisor telling me that they had admitted me on like pure talent, like something they felt that couldn't be taught. And then they were like, we can just polish it up and give you the technical
Yeah.
things, which they were a great program for that.
Yeah.
I went to Syracuse University. They were a great program for that. I've been singing my whole life, but technically, like private vocal coaching lessons, not until school.
I love that. And tell me about your experience at Syracuse. How was that for you?
It was competitive.
In a
It
good way?
was very necessary. My school, what I really love about my school is they have a great vocal training program. They're really known for their acting program, which is great, but their vocal training program is great in the sense that you go there and you have to be trained classically in Italian arias, etc. And I'm sure you could agree, but I feel like those found are the foundations, or I feel like those are to what ballet is to
Yes.
dance,
Yes.
and can benefit you in all facets of singing. So they don't let you touch anything for a while. You're just
Love
doing
that.
arias and classical, and that's probably one of my favorite things to come from the school. And then also a lot of my peers, like they came from really, really reputable, legit performing arts schools. They already like had credits and etc. I came from just like a public theater program that happened to be really good. And
I
people were
love
like, hello. And like, so I like was a bit behind in music theory. Like I had private 101 coaching, and that I'm really grateful for at Syracuse too.
that.
Now I can read music and I couldn't before.
Yeah.
And so I think that to Syracuse. So my experience was like rough because it's competitive, but very necessary.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm happy to hear that. And I love when people come into college not knowing anything. I feel like so many
Honestly.
people are like, I need to have 6 Broadway
Mhm.
credits to get
Mhm.
into school. And it's like, you're going to school to learn. You're not
Mhm.
going to like be on
Mhm.
Broadway already. They want
Mhm.
to be able to mold you. You don't have to be a finished package.
I could know
So
at all.
I love that. I love that you had that experience.
Thank you.
So you were on the Annie tour.
Oh yeah, I was.
Tell me all about that. When did you book that?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I was on it for 2 years. Oh my gosh.
Whoa, that's a lot of Annie. Let me tell you, I love
Out
Annie.
of
That's a
Annie.
lot of Annie.
I think I booked it. I booked it. When did I book it? Oh my gosh, it was in the middle of their year two. It was great. I love tour. I really love stability, but before Annie was my first tour. So it's like I would have friends and peers
Yeah.
leave, and then they would come back and they'd be like, God, I hate tour. And that always scared me because I was like, I feel like it's such an essential part, or potentially could be towards at least the beginning of your career. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so scary to hate tour. I loved it. And mind you, I only intend to be on even better ones now, but like, I love it. I love
Yeah.
going places that you otherwise would never go to. I love seeing people I otherwise think I would probably never see again. I feel like so
Yep.
many people all over the world. I love pretending to live in Chicago for a few weeks. I love someone coming in and changing my bed sheets,
Yes.
changing my towels for me. I love it. Yes, hotel rooms can get a little like lonely, which I was like,
Yeah.
that's impossible, can't be a thing. But like bring some stuffed animals, bring some little blanket. Like I love to tour and I would love to be back.
She is Tor's biggest fan. I
I'm
love that. I have never heard
so
of someone speaking so passionately about
good.
Tor.
I want to change the narrative.
Oh, I love to hear that.
Good, good,
I'm
good. No,
so glad that you
I love
had,
it.
yeah, I'm glad you had a great experience. How was that changing environments constantly, changing altitude, changing humidity all the time? What was that like?
Right before um Annie, I had actually been doing six with NCL, and I was just waiting, and I remember being like, six and Annie
Hmm.
have been the biggest, most transformative vocal lessons of my life.
Huge
I
songs.
Oh yes, and you know what? I think that school can be so beneficial. School can be so beneficial, but there are just some things inevitably, it's not school's fault that you are not going to learn until you just get out there and you have to do it and you're being thrown in.
Hmm.
And I'm just not the same performer as before tour. I'm just not. And because tour just forces you to learn how to take care of yourself. There might be other ways in which you're not seeing that maybe you need to be taking care of yourself, but in terms of your vocal health, it and your immunity, it forces you. I truly believe that performers who have experienced that type of schedule are ahead of their peers in terms of um health maintenance.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And both my parents are in the medical field. I remember I was packing to go on tour and I was like, okay, I'm going through my medicine. What do I bring? And I'd go through this, and this, and they'd be like, everything. And they were correct. And they were correct. And it was my first big, it was my first big long-term
Hmm.
vocal.
Hmm.
But you know what is so great about that? The challenges I had at the beginning are nowhere near any challenges I would have now. Absolutely.
That's
I
awesome.
remember I was a replacement, and that's a journey of its own. And I remember I was like, my voice is tired. And I was like, oh, but I can't, the stigma calling out, that's a whole different conversation. I was like, I can't call out. I just started. And I was like, I can't do this. There are so many times where your voice is in a place where you can sing. You may not feel like 100% like you feel all the time, but you can sing. And I was just very in my head. And that's a
Yeah.
lesson that like I learned so many lessons on tour in terms of vocal health.
Yeah, I love that. And tell me about those times where you were like not vocally 100%. What were the boundaries that you set? When did you feel like you were able to kind of push yourself to do it in a safe way? How did you feel about that?
Okay, so in terms of dealing with it like mentally, I think it's such a individual journey, but regardless, you have to be vigilant. I
Mm.
think that if you are not handling it well mentally, it can very quickly make you very, very sad and like affect your mental health,
Mhm.
especially vocalists and singers. We are just so, it's such, we are our voice. Like
Yeah,
it's so
it's internal.
vulnerable. It's internal to not have that. And your voice, it's our superpower. And so not being able to maintain that mentally, I think it's individual, but I think that's what has to happen first.
Mhm.
Or else we'll get very sad. Now, physically, for Annie specifically, now mind you, I'm gonna tell you all these things, but for me, it's different for every show.
Right.
So for Annie specifically, oh my gosh, PD Light was my best friend, and people thought I was hungover. I was like, what? I'm just trying to hydrate.
The exact opposite.
Like an exact opposite. Like I'm not drinking, girl.
Yeah.
Like I was Koday. Like, and so PD Light was my best friend. Now I've transitioned into coconut water, which probably
Love.
seems much less skeptical to people. I always loved coconut water, but I found like the perfect brand. Mary Kate, like suggested as the perfect brand. Now I go to
Yes.
coconut water. I was like PD Light. I was a big steam girl. I still steam at night, but I'm such a nebulizer girl. I believe in it. Okay, yeah. So I steamed and then I warmed up every day at the theater, not the theater, at the hotel before the theater. And then in terms of like my understudy stuff, I just made sure to do that material every day. Or like when I wasn't on, so I was always ready.
Yeah.
But those were just some of the tips and tricks. But
No.
I think you have to go one day at a time and you have to listen to your body. It sounds
Yes.
so cliche, but if I know I have a show on Sunday and I'm not feeling well, like, is Sunday something I can push through because I know Monday is our off day? Or is it like if I go on Sunday, is it going to make it worse? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just those decisions can be so hard to make. They can be so difficult to make in the moment for
Yeah.
so many reasons. But I think that's really important. That helped me on tour was trying to listen to my body.
Yeah. I think the mental toll that it takes to be in good vocal health for such a long period of time is it's just exhausting, and it's a lot for some people. For myself especially, it's all consuming. Every single thing that I do affects the way that I sing, and so my whole life is affected. And I want to know if you feel comfortable sharing what that was like for you to be on tour, for that to be your life. I mean, that's the job, but also like how did that go over for you mentally?
Here's the thing. I always, even as a kid, I always found this schedule unrealistic.
It's
And
ridiculous.
no vocalist is going to get through that type of schedule with ease the whole time. Like, I mean, every voice is different. Maybe you just wake up and you can like hit an F and you're just like, ah. But like
The
everyone,
chosen ones.
no, exactly. Everyone, even the most consistent vocalists I know
Mhm.
have trouble with. That's the thing with tour. It's going because of the duration. It's and what's required of you
Mhm.
and the travel.
Mhm.
It's inevitably going to happen. Inevitably, and um, it's hard. You know, I saw it's hard. I think it's so necessary. I mean, not necessary. I mean, like it really has prepared me for the rest of my career. I know a more seasoned actor I know, they told me that back in the day when they were auditioning for Broadway, you had to have at least a tour on your resume just so they knew that you could handle the scrutiny of it. And it's hard. I saw some influencers in the theater world talk about how, isn't it crazy? They're currently on some Broadway shows how, and I thought it was just me. I saw an interview with Leslie Margarita, with someone, the most recent Spamalot, Lady Marmalade, love her, but they all were talking about how you will wake up and you'll just be like Audra McDonald, you will wake up and you'll be like, let me check where my voice is
Yeah,
at.
I saw that with
And
Audra.
that, yes, and that can dictate the entirety of the rest of your day. Like if you are having, it's like a good hair day. If
Yeah,
your voice is feeling it that day, you are on top of the world. On top of the world.
yeah,
And mind you, you can't go based off right when you wake up. But it's like if you are not having a good voice day,
yeah,
because our voice, especially as women, are changing all the time. Oh my gosh, the way that will affect your mental is
yeah,
wild. So
yeah.
yeah, I definitely dealt with that. Especially I like overthought some things because my I remember when I first got on to Annie, I didn't realize, look, I had just done six. So I was like, vocally, this is gonna be okay. But I didn't realize that in the Annie musical, my featured track has a part like in my featured ensemble track has a part. She sings a lot, and it is a part in the first song, the first number where she just like belting her face off. She just belting like for no reason. She's just belting, and I didn't know that. And I remember I was in rehearsal and the girl sang it, and the girl I was shadowing, and I was like, oh, I gotta.
I gotta work on this one. Yeah. Uh-oh.
And then so she belts very high, But then for the entirety of the rest of the duration of her song, she's in her head voice. And that
Plus, your understudy track,
is very,
Hannigan, is so
yes,
low.
yeah, it's so low.
You
Oh
put on
my God.
opposite ends of the spectrum there.
Completely opposites end of the spectrum. And because my voice is naturally in my chest voice and quite resonant, I was always like, I'll never lose my chest voice. It's fine. I don't have to work on it all the time. Not true.
Not true.
Not true. And
Not
so I
true.
just had to actively be working both of those parts of my voice, or else one
Yeah.
would lose a little bit, like be lost a little bit. You know what I mean? I lose the other more.
Yeah.
Um, was that English? But you know what I
I'm
mean.
following you, yes.
I guess my answer is like you're like, what situations did you maybe have that were difficult? And I'm like, when did I not? Like you're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I remember I did a week unhanny and I didn't know I had strep for the first time.
Yeah. That
Like,
changes things when your tonsils
yeah.
are swollen. It changes
Mhm.
things.
It changes it when, are you're as like female identifying people, like when we go through our time of the month, like
So
it's
much
just
changes.
changing every day. And I remember just having trouble initially with the longevity and the stamina, like doing it every day. And I overthought it. I think I did like things that I just really didn't need to do. I could wake up and then just like do a 5 minute warm up. I'm like, okay, I'm fine. But
Yeah.
initially, the schedule was difficult to adapt to
Yeah.
locally. And I reached out to friends who are on Broadway and etc. And they're like, you need to know that, like, you need to have a B show.
Mhm.
And that doesn't mean it's any less good show. It
No.
doesn't at all, I promise. Like it really doesn't.
Mhm.
It's for you. It's for you. Like you need to have an alternative that will work vocally, that makes you
Yes.
feel like the story is still getting across. Everything that's needed to be there is there, but
Yeah.
you are making sure you're safe. You're doing it safely. So
Yes.
a B plan is something
I love that.
I learned. Yeah.
I love that. Tell me, have you ever experienced any sort of like vocal injury, damage, anything like that? Tell me about that.
I think about an old friend of mine who she had a really big vocal injury and went on tour. And I just really love what you do because we just have conversations. Like
Mhm.
it was just a conversation that's just not nearly had as often as it should. I remember she was I'll get to the point. I stay with me. She was like critiqued in a review when she went on for something once. Mind you, knowing her vocal history, it just that really affects you. I just wish more people talked about it because more
Yes.
people go through it than is aware of. But yes, so after the end of tour, I was like, I want to do something productive. I was like, God forbid I rest. And I was like, I want to do something productive. And so I go to one of my voice teachers. His name is Mike Ruckles. And and I sing for 3 seconds, not more than 3 seconds. And he goes, and this is why he gets paid the big bucks. I don't even sing for 3 seconds. And he goes, when's the last time you've been scoped? Now, nobody wants to hear that. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, when's the last time you've been scoped? And I was like, college. And he was like, and everything was fine. And I was like, everything was fine. And he was like, okay, well, I can't tell if it's a technical thing or if you just need to go get checked. So if you're still on like any insurance, et cetera, you might as well just go get checked.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm home. I haven't been home for years. I might as well. So I went and got checked with an ENT. They scoped me. And there was not necessarily well, when they scoped me, I had a little, these are your folds. They go like this.
Tell him. Tell him.
And I had it shouldn't have been as difficult to transition into my higher like head voice register. That transition there, the passaggio, it shouldn't have been as difficult as it was being. And this was my vocal folds, and there was a little tiny bump on one of them, and so they weren't closing all the way, which created this breathy sound during that transition. And I remember the ENT being like, you know they have you heard of these, Megs? They have these different levels in the ENT world of vocal rest. And the worst one is referred to as like the Adele vocal rest, which is like no speaking for like
Yeah.
months, like a year. They're like, what? And I remember he goes, So look, you've been on tour for years. You've been screaming every day for years. There's some like exhaustion there. And he was like, the good news is if you had come, like if you'd kept singing and come 6 months from now, there might have been a big problem.
Yeah.
Or we would have talked about maybe surgery. Or like, like throat like surgery, you know what I mean? No, I don't,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they were like, but because you came in time, there's things that we can do with each other to heal it. So like I'm gonna go on my last checkup in about a month and I'm hoping everything's just perfect. And
Yeah.
so I started seeing an ENT regularly, and we go and we've done exercises and I've watched that like my fold like
Yeah.
heal. But in that, it's been about a little less than it's been about 6 to 8 months of literally
Therapy.
reversing it.
Yeah.
And that is hard. I grew up in a loud family. I have a loud voice, and I was literally told by my ENT, obviously more articulately, to shut up. Like he was like, shut up. And I was like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? And he was like, I work for rock stars. I work for Broadway performers, da, 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 da. And he was like, they are constantly, I don't play about my humidifier. He was like, there's constantly a humidifier going on. They are not the life. You can't go out to every, and like clearly my personality is like, you can't go out to every event, be the life of the party, speaking over music, da, 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 da. And so seeing like, oh gosh, this makes me want to go to my auntie now. But seeing that little bump on my fold, yeah,
Yeah.
that scares the living poop poop out of you. And it was like, if it was any worse, it would have been.
Yeah. Was it a pre-nodule or a polyp? So the pre-nodule would be like not a developed callus, but like the start of it.
Actually, I'm not sure.
That's okay. But there was something there.
It was.
And
Well,
that's
because to be honest with you, I initially thought I was almost positive it was pre-nodule because I just remember being like, okay, I don't have nodes.
yes.
I could have
Safe.
nodes.
Yes.
Right. But they were like, but you could have nodes. And they were like, so you need to reverse it.
Okay, interesting. Thank you for sharing. I know that
Yeah.
sometimes that's
I
quite
just,
vulnerable
I
for people.
like, in a dream world, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go through my entire career and nothing's ever going to be like wrong.
Yeah.
But that's just like not the case.
We're
And maybe wrong
athletes.
is the wrong word. Would you say?
We're athletes.
We absolutely are. So for me to come back after singing consistently, belting for 2 years and be like, oh, something's a little like I'm like, okay, like to give myself grace. I guess that makes sense. Um, but it's really scary. You never want to hear it, but I wish it was talked about more just because I like when you're on tour, you have a PT.
Mhm.
Um, you're guaranteed a PT for your body. So I wish you were guaranteed like something for your voice,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So
Either a voice therapist or a voice teacher, somebody that you
yes,
can just like check in
exactly.
with.
Exactly. And you don't realize like, because when he had said it, like, oh, when's the last time you got scoped? I'm noticing some like difficulty getting from one place to another. I was like, oh, you know what? That is actually, now that you've said it, that is something I've actually noticed too. But
Yeah.
you don't ever want to like really address it because you're afraid something might not be right. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
And I hear that from almost every single one of my students who I talk about
really,
vocal health with. They're like, I don't want to go because I'm afraid of what I'm going to find out.
right.
And I understand that on a deep level because I too have had not great scopes. And it's not something that you want to hear, but knowledge is power. And I don't know about your experience, but at least for me, it turned out to be one of the best things that has ever happened to me because I'm such a knowledgeable, strong singer now because of what I went through. Yeah.
I do relate to that. Absolutely. It's changed my life. Actually, it's kind of very like um pre-ENT and post-ENT has kind of been my vocal journey, honestly.
Yeah.
There are just so many things that I could have a whole other meeting about this alone, but like that I was making more difficult for myself. Like I didn't
Yep.
realize it could be easier, you
Yeah.
know? So yeah, I
Oh,
agree.
oh, I hear that. I hear that. Okay, do you want to sing?
Yes. Something to feel, to race through your blood and remind you you're here, to open your eyes and look around and see the sky when you're underground. I didn't plan it, but that's life, and I'm finally feeling alive. It's not right, but it's mine, and it's finally something
That's great. How did that feel for you?
Okay. Better than I thought I was gonna go.
Well, I love that. That's
Okay,
good.
good.
Good. What was
Okay,
better
good.
than you thought?
I feel like I wasn't ever pushing, so that's good.
Yes.
Um, and then I feel like my switch into like my do women have a falsetto?
Yeah.
Falsetto.
Head voice.
Okay,
It's
my switch into
interchangeable.
falsetto
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
worked well. I think
Yeah.
those two things worked well. Yes.
I agree. Beautiful. Okay, love. Love, love, love. Okay, can you tell me where we started? Was it look around?
It was like something to
Something to
feel.
feel. Okay.
Mhm.
I want to start that again, and I
Okay.
want to see if we can like totally. We're gonna have horrible diction, and that's okay. I want to see if we can lay the tongue on top of the bottom teeth. Thump in the heel. Can we
Okay.
try that for the first few measures? I'm so sorry, I cannot find
No,
this.
you're fine. I'm trying to figure out where it's supposed to go.
Something to feel. There we go. Something to feel. Thump in the heel. You're gonna look and sound ridiculous, and that's okay. That's good right there. Good.
Did I do it right?
Yes, tell me why that was different. What was different?
It reminded me, it made me more aware of my job.
Okay.
And it's making me more aware of my jaw and my mouth shape. I don't know if that's
Okay.
the intent.
Interesting. Do you typically have jaw tension?
No.
Okay.
But I riff a lot and vibrato a lot, and I'm always afraid I'm accidentally doing too much with my jaw or something.
Okay. Your jaw looked fine to me actually. I was doing
Really?
that because I was hearing something called a conurtal, which it's a real term, believe it or not. But a very extreme case of a conurtal, which you do not have, is like Kermit the Frog. It's like the tongue going back and pushing on the larynx. Again, that's a very extreme case. You are not an extreme case, but you have tongue retraction when you're down into that more chesty space, and that is the most normal thing. You're talking to a very tense tongue girly herself. So I wonder if we can try that again. Let's try it a cappella, something to feel. And can we just be aware of the back of the tongue? The front of your tongue is looking lovely and flat and disengaged, but it seems to me like you have a pretty smart tongue, and the back is working while the front is relaxed. And that's okay, it's a very normal thing. Something feel.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Ah, ah, ah,
Good.
ah.
So right there, tell me about that.
No, how do I keep it down?
That's so funny. Tell me about the sound first. How did that
Oh,
feel?
I felt like it even at one point I was like, oh, it's even giving even a little more boisterous.
It was clean.
Yeah, of a sound. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. How do I keep my tongue down in the back?
She's a smart one. So the tongue is meant to move all the time. We have a lot of different muscles that connect to the tongue. We want the tip of the tongue to be glued to the back of the bottom teeth. For people like you and I who have that tongue retraction, when we notice it, and typically it'll be during specific things, we can overcorrect by laying the tongue on top of the bottom teeth. Yes, it affects the diction a little bit, and that's okay, but something to feel. We don't have to stick it out completely, but just that little overcorrection is going to take the tongue away from the back of the throat.
By pushing your tongue to the bottom of your teeth?
Just forward, out.
Forward.
Yeah,
Okay.
but nice and fat and flat and disengaged, yeah?
Okay.
Beautiful. That was a great adjustment. Beautiful. Tell me about and see the sky when you're underground. How does that feel?
It feels fun.
I love. So there's a lot going on melodically in this phrase, right? And your riffs are fantastic.
Thank you.
For science, this is nothing that you're doing wrong. For fun, for science, can we see if we can bring the resonance a little bit more forward in the mouth? Right now, it's kind of mid-mouth, going back a little bit, and again, that's fine.
Yeah.
But for science, let's just see if that is a sound that we can make and like.
Can I ask you a
let's-
question?
Yeah.
When you say to put because I've had other voice teachers and they're always like, can you try to make it more forward, more back? When you think of the word forward, what do you think of?
I think of not nasally. So we're
Okay.
still maintaining the sound in the mouth, which means we have just a slight lift of the soft palate. I like to pretend like the sound is coming out of my teeth. So
Okay.
if the soft palate is completely collapsed, that's when we send the sound through the nasal passage. If we have just a little bit of a lift in the soft palate, we can maintain the resonance in the mouth and just keep it forward like it's a laser coming out of your teeth. So let's try that and see
Okay.
how it feels. And see.
Can I just go a cappella measure before?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and look around.
Mm-hmm. And look around and see. No, wait. Ah, wait. Let me try
That's
it
okay.
again.
Try again.
And look around and see the sky. Was that in my nose?
No.
Okay.
And if you're ever unsure if it's in your nose, let's try it with your nose pinched. And see.
And look around and see the sky. Yeah, yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, it could be probably even like louder or more, even more powerful.
What do you want it to be?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, I do want it to be full.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want it to accidentally, because if it's in the middle, I don't want it to accidentally fall back. I have a tendency. I didn't know there was a name for it. What's the name?
When you fall back in resonance?
Yeah, with the C, you had it.
Oh, that's a canurdle. That's your tongue, not
Okay.
necessarily your resonance.
Okay. But I do, in my resonance, have a tendency to fall back, and I
That's
just
so
don't know how to completely get out of that habit.
That's probably from your early days of singing in choir. So, yeah, and that's okay.
So can you explain that again? You said try it again, but try to.
I want you to try it again. So we pinched the nose closed, which means we can't have any resonance coming out of the nose because we're closing off the passage, right? So everything had to come out of the mouth. I want to try to see if we can modify and see for a second. So we're going to try for a nonsense word. We're going to sing the whole thing on wah, like crying baby wah. Wah, wah! Can we try that?
Just wah wah.
Yeah. Wah on everything. And see this guy on wah, wah, wah.
Okay. Wah 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 wah.
Tell me about that. What's your face for?
That felt good.
Ooh. Why?
There was like no uncertainty in that, and it felt like it was just going out.
Yeah, good. Okay, so the wah, that vowel, promotes forward resonance in the mouth. Different vowels promote different resonance, right? With this and C, we're getting kind of spread. And C, right? So it smushes the resonance and it spreads the sound. It's harder to control, actually. So I wonder if we can modify the vowel and C to be more and se instead of she. Say the sky. Let's play with that and see the difference. The ultimate goal is that we modify it physically without modifying it audibly, so our audience isn't like, what?
Yeah.
So
that makes so much sense. Yeah.
Yeah, let's try that and say the sky.
And
Ooh, try.
And say.
That's okay. That's one extreme. Now let's rein it in just a little bit in terms of the vowel shape. So instead of and se, and se.
And say.
Yeah, pretend like the corners of your mouth are going inward. Say the sky. Yeah, try that.
Can I have and look?
Yeah, and look.
And look around and see the sky. And look around and see the sky.
That was the best one yet. Oh, that was crazy. That was so good. Oh, Jaelle, that was fantastic. Okay, so if you like that, keep it because it sounds great. Let's go from top of cut and let's see if we can try to introduce the two things that we chatted about. So bringing the tongue more forward
Okay.
And also bringing the resonance more forward in the mouth. I never expect what we talk about between sing-throughs to be immediately implemented. That is far too much to ask for the brain to translate to the body. So all I ask is that we clock those moments of like, oh, that's what we talked about, and here's a way I could have done it differently. So if you don't achieve it now, that's okay. We're just trying. We're playing. That's all.
Okay, great.
So let's go top of cut with music, please.
Something to feel, to race through your blood and remind you you're here, to open your eyes and look around and see the sky when you're underground. I didn't plan it, but that's life, and I'm finally feeling alive. It's not right, but it's mine, and it's fine. To fit. What's the vowel on feel? Sorry, my
that was so funny. That's okay. So same thing as to see, right? Same E vowel. So we want to pretend like the corners of the mouth are going inward. Instead of feel with a smile, even though your smile is so lovely, it's not going to help you when you sing. So we want to drop the jaw a little bit. To fe.
To fe.
That's okay. That's okay. We're taking it from one extreme to the other. Now let's meet in the middle. Try.
To feel.
Yeah. So when you did that the first time through, if I recall correctly, that was in your head voice, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that what we want?
Yes.
It's your choice. That's okay.
No, I know. I guess I hadn't ever considered really anything else, honestly.
So fair. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So I wonder if we can drop the jaw a little bit more. So maybe place your finger on your mouth and try feel the way that you would sing it, the way you did it before, just with a more drop jaw. Yeah, and then we don't tack on that L until we're ready to leave the note, instead of morphing into the L. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Try that. Let's get into that from something to feel.
Something to feel. Ooh, gosh, wait.
Tell me about that.
I thought it sounded great. I overthought the L.
That's okay. That's okay. But what did you think of the vowel?
I thought it sounded good.
I thought so too. I thought it sounded full. So the L, to feel. Not until you're ready to leave the note. Yeah?
Yes.
Instead of to feel.
Right.
Something.
Something to feel.
Beautiful. That was awesome. This is a really good cut for you. I love it. Beautiful. Okay, Jaelle. Thank you for being here.
We're done.
We're done.
Okay, great. Okay, you'll be
Thank
here.
you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. You are
Thank you. I know it was a little chaotic, so I just want to thank you for being so adaptable. And also, please, I just really feel like there's not a conversation around vocal health. And I have so many peers reach out to me while they're on their first tour or something, like not having the great mental health space, because they're like, why does nobody talk about this? Why does everybody pretend that this is something that can just that's just done no problem? It's like everyone feels like they can't speak about it. So I just really stand for what you do. Please don't be a stranger, and let me know when you're in the city, okay?
Thank you.